everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I have my December wrap-up. So I know it is January, this is when we do all the wrap-ups, and so I feel like I really need to go into like everything that I read in 2023, which I think is actually the next video you guys will see, but I still wanted to do like my December wrap up. I still need to do a haul. There's a lot of things going on. So we're going to do the stats and wrap up today and then jump into like all the end of the year content. Best and worst lists are coming up soon. I'm very excited for all of it. I have so much content I want to do in January. I'm planning on doing like 3 videos a week. But yeah, December was a really good reading month. I don't know if it was because December felt like it took forever, like it felt like it was so long, or if it was because it was just like crunch time near the end of the year, but I read 17 things in December, one of my higher reading months for 2023, and that was actually for a total of 3,228 pages, which is amazing. I also ended up listening to 13.4 hours worth of audiobooks, and I probably could have fit another one in there, but I wasn't leaving the house as much like the last week or so of December. My kids ended up bringing home a cold from school. Like I think it was, I actually don't know if it was Presley or Elliot because they both go to school, but it was like right before the holidays, and then I ended up getting like the nose stuff right around Christmas or the day after Christmas. And I officially got diagnosed with bronchitis on Tuesday, so like we're getting over all of that stuff as well. So yeah, didn't do as much stuff near the end of the holidays and stuff as we wanted, but that's okay. Let's get into these stats. So we talked about how many books I read. We're gonna get into like all the nitty gritty now. So getting into the reading method, I read 10 ebooks, which makes sense. 5 physical books and 2 audiobooks. For the genre, I had 5 horror, 5 romance, 5 fantasy, 1 nonfiction, and 1 paranormal, so a little bit of variety there. For the book format, 9 of them were novels, 8 of them were comics or graphic novels, so again, that's how I got a little bit more reading in. For indie versus traditional, 5 of them were indie, whereas 12 were traditionally published. How I got it. 11 of them are ones that I have previously owned, which is great. 5 are ones that I bought in 2023, which is still good. And then 1 was a gift. For the age category, 11 of them were adult titles, 3 were young adults, 2 were middle grade, and then I did have 1 new adult. I actually don't even remember which one that was right now, but I only pick new adult as a category if it obviously does not feel adult, but it's too mature for young adults. And then let's get into the star ratings. So like I said, I had 17 books. My average for this month was 3.88, which I think is slightly higher than my average for the whole year, but I'm very excited about that. So I did have 1 DNF. We'll talk about all of this. I had 3 3-star reads, 1 3.5-star read, 7 4-star reads, 1 4.5-star read, and 4 5-star reads. So I do feel like we did a pretty good mix where like the numbers that were on the higher end, like I read more 4, 4.5s, and 5s than the lower numbers. So it felt like a good way to end 2023. So okay, I guess that's it for the stats. Let's jump into those books that I actually did read during the month. So my 1 DNF was Sugar and Snow by Irene Davis. This was something that was an indie book that I got during Stuff Your Kindle at the end of September, and it's a like Nutcracker retelling sort of thing. I did talk about this in the like Christmas books that I read vlog, but basically it was just the writing style wasn't quite my thing. We did get introduced to both like the Nutcracker character and the Mouse King character, because this was supposed to be a romance of like after the original Nutcracker story and not with Nutcracker, with the Mouse King instead. And like when we were introduced to them, they were very humanoid, and just did not sound appealing in any way. They had like weird mustaches and weird mannerisms, and I think it was because of the fact that one is supposed to be like a nutcracker and one is supposed to be like the mouse or rat king or whatever it is. But I couldn't really get past that, and because I wasn't 100% jiving with the writing style, I was like, you know what? Nothing is really 100% holding my attention, so I'm just going to DNF it. Moving into my 3-star reads, the first one I have here is Big Black Stand at Attica, written by Frank Big Black Smith and someone else. Okay, so this is a semi-weird one. This was my nonfiction for the month. I actually ended up picking it up because it was the, like, Clear Your Shit Readathon had a book that would teach you something, and I don't usually gravitate towards nonfiction. I figured a graphic novel style one would be better for me, and I will say I am intrigued to learn more because it's something about something, the Stand at Attica, that was something before I was born. I don't remember learning about it in school. Like, I don't remember or know anything about it really. The thing is about this one specifically, this book was actually published after Frank Big Black Smith passed away, and so it felt very like hearsay almost, like it was his words about it, but he didn't actually write it. He told his like lawyer after the fact, and I think it was the lawyer's son who ended up writing this book, and so there was a lot of stuff in it that I don't want to say is gratuitous violence, because I'm sure like everything like that happened, but they felt like in a weird place for how the book was written. A lot of the stuff also felt either a little bit too long in the like descriptions and speech of stuff. Like, I would rather it have been a picture because it's a graphic novel. I would have preferred the graphic nature of it, but then if they didn't use enough words, they would go from scene to scene to scene, and I was not following it as well. Like, so this is something that made me intrigued, but I feel like I would have preferred to either watch a documentary or read something else because I wasn't fully understanding it either. And again, I feel like it could have been because of the fact that this was written after the main guy that we were following in this story had passed away, so like people might have been taking some creative liberties on how things actually happened. But I did like the look into like the injustices that they faced, and like the fact that we were able to really see that like the people that worked at the jail, not all of them, but some of the higher ups, were really not handling the situation well, and like the repercussions of those actions. So it opened the door for me wanting to learn more, but I don't think this was the best way to go about it. The next 3-star I have here is Pregnant by the Playboy by Jackie Lau. This is the first book in a duology series sort of thing called the Fong Brothers, and so this is about one of the Fong brothers. I can't remember, I'm really bad at character names. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's sort of like a notorious playboy. We come into his life when he's sort of slowed down a little bit. He sold his company previously because he had some like work burnout stuff. He is pretty rich because of that, and he's at this like party one night, and we have this female main character, again I don't know their name, and she has semi-recently gotten out of a breakup and decides to go there, and I will say there are some very graphic sexual scenes in here, but they end up having sort of like a one-night stand, one weekend stand with birth control, but the birth control fails and she gets pregnant, and so they decide they're gonna have a baby together. And I did like some of this, like I gave it a 3 stars. It was pretty solid, a pretty quick read. My biggest thing I think is that Jackie Lau's writing style is very blunt, and so there was a lot of times where I was just like, it was very like short sentences, and like it didn't fully come together for me. A lot of it was like, oh, I like this, and then I like this, and then I like this. It was a lot of like info dumping sort of thing as well. I did like some of the more romantic aspects of it. However, I wished it could have been taken a little bit further, because he falls very, very quickly, and we don't really get to see a progression. Like, I just would have wished for a little bit more in this story. This is the second thing that I've read by Jackie Lau, and the first one was very, very short, but I feel like I had the same issues with that, so I might try another one by her and then decide if this is an author that I want to continue reading, or if maybe the writing style and stuff just doesn't quite work for me. My last 3-star is Chevalier First Class by Alison Carr Watcher. This is something that's actually not on Goodreads. I put it into the Goodreads librarians being like, hey, I read this, I would like it to be on Goodreads, because it was a short story, because it's like, I think it's like 24 pages, a short story that was given out during the Pharaoh Feb Advent calendar. They had like a new author, new story every day for the first 24 days of December leading up to Christmas. And this is a very, very short, like I said, 24 pages, sort of a prequel to one of the series that this author has, which I have not read. There is no real romance, no real sexual situations in this book, but it is, I guess, about 2 characters that potentially have like a sapphic relationship in one of her books. I did like this setup of it. It felt very fantasy, but because it was 24 pages, it's a 3-star, because I didn't have enough to like want to give it a higher rating. Moving into my 3.5, I have Frogkisser by Garth Nix. This is one of the books that I listened to on audiobook near the end of Presley going to school before winter break, and I was not 100% sure about this book. I really thought I was going to give it like a 3 at the highest. I don't know if it was because I was listening to it on audiobook or if it's Garth Nix's writing style, because I have not read anything else by Garth Nix, but this is a middle grade that felt, I don't know, it feels like, what is it? Howl's Moving Castle by Diane Wynne Jones. I don't personally like that one either. The writing style feels very like, I'm just gonna tell you about what's going on instead of show you about stuff. But it ended up having some very interesting takes about Frogkisser and like how like, oh, the Princess and the Frog, and they bring in Snow White and the 7 Dwarves and a lot of different other little fairy tales like that, but they're definitely twisted, like Merlin and that kind of thing. And so ultimately I did like the fact that this was a questing middle grade story, but it was very slow going, and the writing style is not my favorite thing, but ultimately I did think this was fun near the end. Like I was like, okay, everything is coming together. It's just the way and the like pacing of the story wasn't quite my thing. Okay, moving into my 7 4-star reads. They are all graphic novels or comics in some way. So the first one I have here is Hexed Omnibus. So it's this entire thing, it's the entire Hex series by Michael Allen Nelson. Now this is sort of split up into 2 sections. One is art by Emma Rios and one is art by Dan Mora. I will say I personally do not like Emma Rios's art style. I've had a couple other things by her where I've actually seen her write instead of do art, like she's had somebody else do it, but I personally really love Dan Mora's style, and I don't know how much time was between the 2 parts here because they do feel sort of different, but basically this follows our main character of Lucy, or Lucifer, who has this like curse put upon her to be the like heir of some mystical, magical, maybe not so nice creature, and we go through and see her dealing with that. The first part of the story is like more of her origin story. It definitely has blood and gore and lots of stuff in here, and then the second part I did like better, but again, there were some choices that just were a little bit out of left field. Like I felt like we needed more, especially in between the 2 parts even. I needed more from part 1, I needed more from part 2. I needed a little bit more connection between them, but while I was reading it, I did have a fun time. So this is a 4. It says it's like, she's a strong female lead that rivals the likes of Buffy and Wonder Woman. I definitely see the Buffy style of this a little bit more because we have lots of like bad guys coming and like having to kill demons and all this kind of thing. And so there's a lot in here that I liked, but there was also some choices that I just sort of wished were a little bit different. Because of like character motivations and like wanting the best for the characters, you know, even though this is, I guess, more horror fantasy based. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with that. I had a fun time reading it. I just wished it had a little bit more, so that's why it's a 4-star. The next 4-star I have here is Nightlights by Lorena Alvarez. This actually was a gift that I received for Christmas in December from Lauren, so thank you so much, Lauren. I could not help myself, and I definitely ended up picking it up pretty soon after it arrived here. And this is more of a middle grade graphic novel. It does have some creepy imagery in it, but I don't think it's necessarily too much for that middle grade audience. And this is about a girl who goes to a Catholic school, and she really loves art and drawing, and she comes across this almost like illustrator's block sort of thing where like she's not supposed to be doing it in class, she's getting in trouble for it, and so she's curious about like what is her actual muse, and she meets this girl, and it gets a little bit creepy from there, but I really enjoyed it. I wish there was a little bit more from it, not necessarily because it was a middle grade comic, but maybe just because I needed personally a little bit more explanation for the more fantastical elements in it. But the art style is absolutely gorgeous. They show her like being able to like bring her drawings to life in her dreams and stuff like that. Like I just really, really love the art style, and so like I said, it gets a little bit creepy sometimes, but I think it was really, really cute. There is a sequel to this that I am now very interested in, so again, thank you so much, Lauren. And then the last 5 comics slash graphic novels that I read and gave 4 stars are all in the same series. I pretty much marathon the first 5 volumes of Ice Cream Man by W. Maxwell Prince. I read these like December 30th and December 31st. I needed to get something to my reading goal, and like I said before, Chevalier First Class was not on Goodreads, so I technically only needed to read 4, but like once I was in this, I was in this. These are really weird horror short stories all set around the Ice Cream Man, who is not really human. I don't even really know how to get into this because every single short story is very, very different. But we start off in the first volume of this town where there's just like an Ice Cream Man, and it gets a little bit more sinister with everything that we do. And the reason that it is 4 stars is because there's not like a whole overarching main point to these stories, except for there is the Ice Cream Man here. I wish we knew more about him. I wish we knew more about his backstory. I wish I knew how everything fits together, and there's I think 4 more volumes in this series that I am interested in reading because they are just very weird mind fucks of a time. I really did enjoy that, and I just need more now because every single story is completely different and you never know what's going to happen. Moving into my 4.5 star, I have In a Holidaze by Christina Lauren. Again, I talked about this in the Christmas vlog. It's a 4.5 because my expectations were not 100% met with this, but I really love the character progression. Like our main character in here goes through like a finding yourself sort of thing, and I absolutely love that. Like it made me tear up. But besides that, this is like a time loop Christmas romance story. I wish the time loop was used a little bit better. I wish the romance was shown in a way that I knew what to expect. Because of the time loop aspect, I was expecting one thing where I got another, and it wasn't bad. I was just, my expectations were not hit because of knowledge of like time loop stories, like other Christmas movies that have the time loop, or like Groundhog's Day, that kind of thing. And it talks about having 2 brothers here, and so I thought there was going to be some sort of romance love triangle thing. It wasn't. My expectations were not 100% correct, and I don't know how I would expect them to like rephrase that, but once I was able to let that go, I really did enjoy what I was reading, so it is a 4.5. Then we're moving into the 5 stars. The first one I have here is Secret Santa for Grumpy Elves by Laura Greenwood, another one I talked about in the Christmas vlog. It was a very short 90-something page book, and it was just a perfect 5-star read because it did exactly what it said it was going to. We have our main character named Holly, who is an elf, and it does not really like Christmas because people always ask like, hey, do you know Santa? And she doesn't, and then she meets another elf, and they like sort of commiserate over the holidays, and it's just a very cute, very wholesome, like beginning of a relationship romance sort of thing. Like I really have no complaints. I read it in less than 30 minutes, and it was adorable. My next 5-star read is Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson. This is the sequel novella to Sorcery of Thorns, which I read last year. Absolutely love, 5 out of 5 stars. And this is very short. Again, I just really liked this. Like, I love these characters. I love this world. I really, really want another book in this series, and I don't know if we're going to get it because Sorcery of Thorns was originally a standalone. It does leave it slightly open at the end for, like, more, and I would love that. This has way less stakes in it than the original book, probably because it is shorter. It is very cutesy. Like, if you like the romance and stuff that happened in Sorcery of Thorns, definitely pick this up. The characters were the best part for me, which I think the characters were the best part in Sorcery of Thorns as well. So yeah, just very fun, very cute. I really enjoyed it. My next 5-star read and the second best book of the month was Second Chances in Newport Stephen by TJ Alexander. Again, read it in the Christmas vlog, hauled it in December too. Like, I was on top of this one. I really, really love this. This came in the Afterlight box for November, which came like at the end of November, beginning of December. And this is a second chance romance where one guy is a single dad, the other guy is now trans. They came out like after high school and they were like high school sweethearts. I really love the discussion about like discovering who you are and what it means to be queer and in all the different ways. They are in Florida for Christmas as well, so there was a little bit of talk about that. The only main reason that this wasn't a full, like, my favorite book of the month is, I mentioned before, one of our main characters is a single dad, and the daughter is 4. I have a 4-year-old son. Yes, I know not all 4-year-olds are going to be the same, but she sounded way too mature and on top of it to be 4. Like, I would have expected her to be at least 7, and so some of those scenes where we have the family sort of stuff just felt a little bit forced. Like, it didn't quite feel like a 4-year-old to me, but I really liked the development of the romance. I really liked the sex scenes in here too. Like, everything was just like so good. Like, I have no complaints about this except for the fact that I don't think that 4-year-old was a 4-year-old. I really like this one, and I think a lot of people definitely need to pick this up. And because it was the Afterlight Illumicrate edition, we have pretty edges, and I just absolutely love the manatees. So that leaves us my favorite book of the month. It's going to be Threads That Bind by Kika Hatzopoulou. This one I also listened to on audiobook, and it was a phenomenal audiobook. I absolutely loved this. The narrator, I don't know. I think I'm going to have to listen to the second book on audio as well because it was just amazing. This is a YA fantasy mystery where like Greek fates and like all these different like Greek mythology sort of stuff is woven in. So they are in like a futuristic area. I don't know if it's supposed to be a futuristic Earth or if it's just like a completely different area. But our main character of Io is like one of the fates. She is the cutter, and her 2 sisters have like the other abilities. And there's other born characters here, and those are the ones that have different abilities, and they all come from different like mythologies. I think some of them is not even Greek necessarily. The storytelling here was phenomenal. Like, I was hooked the entire time. I love the character study. I love the fact that there was a mystery here, and I did guess it, but like not 100%. Like, it was so well done. I don't know where we're going or how we're going to like continue into book 2, and book 2 is the finale too. It's a duology. I seriously loved this so much. I'm so excited that I got to read this. So yeah, favorite book of the month. Like I said, my best of list for 2023 is going to be coming up shortly. This is definitely quite up there. I loved it. Okay, so that is everything for the December wrap-up. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I will see you then. Bye!